Well, the demonstrations have kicked off. Demonstrators, protesters leaving Place de la République. You've got some just behind me, all holding banners calling for Emmanuel Macron to stop his plans of reforms. And they say these are left-wing, far-left supporters who believe they have a right to not just work but also live freely and in happiness. That's one of the messages we've been reading on banners. And of course, here, a rather festive atmosphere has to be said. Thousands on the streets of Paris, even though police is expecting potential clashes with some violent and angry protesters. For the time being, we haven't seen any, but it was the case in recent years during previous editions of May Day, Labor Day. But here people are calling for rights for workers, for improved rights, and they are basically saying that President Macron needs to listen to the streets, needs to listen to the people who are demonstrating today. And there are rallies like this all across the country in Lyon, Bordeaux, Marseille, all the major cities. So once again, rather festive atmosphere with trucks, with very big, I have to say, sound systems, blasting music to try to get everybody in a good mood and to mobilize supporters this a week after the presidential election that saw Emmanuel Macron re-elected.
Yeah, and it's not just the workers or the unions with messages, it's also political parties with parliamentary elections looming.
Just behind us, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, the third man, if you will, in the presidential election, the one who arrived just after Marine Le Pen and Emmanuel Macron in the first round, while Jean-Luc Mélenchon, the far-left leader, addressed his supporters gathered here. He was with all his entourage, let's say, the other heavyweights of La France Insoumise party, and he addressed his supporters. He said that victory was possible in what he calls the third round of the presidential elections. Understand the parliamentary vote coming up in mid-June, and he talked of course about the ongoing negotiations, 9 days and 9 nights of tough talks with his partners, as he called them, of the left wing, the Socialist Party and the Greens. He's trying to create, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, a coalition of these parties, a united left-wing front in order to beat Emmanuel Macron, to get a majority of seats in the National Assembly and therefore become the next Prime Minister of France. That is the will of Jean-Luc Mélenchon, who did say that tonight would be the last day of negotiations, the last chance, if you will, to get a coalition built. It's not going smoothly, it has to be said, with the Communist Party pulling out this morning. The Socialists also in recent days. We don't really know what is the state of negotiations, but talks will be continuing, and there are some stumbling blocks. The Socialists and the Greens, for the most part, opposed to Jean-Luc Mélenchon's view of Europe. Jean-Luc Mélenchon, he's ready to disobey European treaties if they prevent him from spending the money he wants in order to reinforce public services here. And also there's of course this hot debate on pension reform. Emmanuel Macron wants to move the legal age to be able to get a pension and retire from 62 to 65. Jean-Luc Mélenchon's opposed to that, and that's a very important issue here in France today on May Day.
All right, Clovis, thank you very much. Clovis Casali reporting from